Welcome, welcome. I was just going through the schedule. One thing I was saying was you don't need to worry about your advertising item, the most popular or least popular being 2020. It can be in the, ideally in sort of the last 5 years, maybe 10 years at the outside. Ideally, I'm hoping that you will have seen or heard of the marketing campaign in your lifetime, which if you get further than that, I think is going to get out of the picture. I just noticed that it's very difficult to find stuff for 2020, and you're never going to get any figures for what their sales are or anything. Okay. So we're going to do that. What is due today is our warm-up. We've got two things that are going to be due on Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving. So that is our warm-up. Our quiz on engineering and technological design. I think you guys know how to do that. And our marketing effects on technology project that is going to be due then. Our goal is that you will be able to evaluate and understand the differences between technological design, engineering design, and how they contribute to the advancement of an idea or product. So those are our two big words today: technological design, engineering design. Does anyone have an idea what the difference between technological design and engineering design might be? Some brave soul. Wow, just looking at our chat. Congratulations, Jeremiah. My son is just turning 15 tomorrow, so that's coming up quick for me. Anybody have an idea of what the difference between technological design and engineering design is?
Technological design could be like more computers and I don't know, like phones and stuff.
Okay, that's a good thought. That's a good thought. It turns out to be a little simpler than that. It's not a division of labor that technological design does technology and engineers do engineering. It is kind of that. There's John. Right? What it really is that technological designers are interested in creating a beautiful, effective product. They are more interested in the design, the beauty, the quality, the experience of the product than how to actually manufacture the product. Once they have come up with their design, they hand that design off to the engineering designers, and they would design how to actually create that product. So an example I gave was, say you invented a coffee mug that keeps coffee at the perfect temperature. It's always 110 degrees, hot, but not going to scald you. Okay, as a designer, I make the mug, I make it beautiful, I make the handle feel right, to me. But it's up to the engineering designer to figure out how are we actually going to create the piece that's going to keep the coffee warm, that's going to deliver it, that kind of thing. Okay? I just wanted to lay that sort of groundwork in there. We're going to look at a couple things from the last lecture that we sort of skimmed over at the end. I just wanted to let you learn about this idea of optimization. Okay, balance and trade-offs lead to optimization. Typically, when two sides can't agree, one side is very risk averse, one side is very risk tolerant. How can you get them to agree? They make a compromise. And ideally, that compromise is optimizing both positions. You're taking a little more risk than the person who is risk averse wants, but a little less risk than the risk tolerant person wants. So this is the idea of risk, performance, cost. how expensive is it going to be to, ramp everything up, and what is the risk of that? Something like that. These are things like, my friend worked for LA Gear. They were determined to sell as many shoes as Reebok and Nike. So they slashed their prices to do that. And they did end up selling the same amount of shoes, but they made no money at it and went bankrupt. So they wanted to play with Nike and Reebok. That was their performance goal. It cost them a lot to do it. They needed to manufacture all these shoes, and then they had to sell them at a discount price. So the risk was that that strategy may blow up and the company went bankrupt. People, planet, profit. This is the idea of weighing environmental risks. What are the risks to people? What are the risks to our planet? Can we effectively deal with those risks and still make a profit? The problem is, typically, most industries feel no, they cannot accommodate the environment and people and make a profit. So thus, the penalty is on the planet and the people, and the company is going to make the profit and pollute. Okay? So high priority, medium priority, low priority, these are ways of gauging what needs to be done. And these are interesting just from sort of a military standpoint. Operational objectives are short-term objectives, what we need to make our company work right now. Tactical objectives are medium-term objectives. What do we need to be successful next year? Strategic objectives are long-term objectives. What do we need to be a viable company 10 years from now? Okay? These are just benefits and intended benefits and unintended consequences. So cell phones, convenient communication, wireless internet, computers become portable, texting, silent communication, all those seem good. But the consequences are cell phones interrupt your conversations. People are looking at their cell phone while they're having lunch with you on a business meeting. The wireless internet has provided incredible opportunities for malefactors to steal your identity, to scam you, to take your money. Texting apparently leads to carpal tunnel syndrome. Okay, so this is the last one of these. This is a risk correlation, and just sort of to understand how this works. So this corner, so this is consequences, and this is probability of occurring. So low impact, low probability. These are minor events. This is like, a rain, that it rains. Is that a problem? Yeah, but it's not a big problem. You got to put out the mats in the lobby. You got to make sure people don't slip, have a place to put umbrellas, but rain isn't that big a deal. So routine events, these are high probability events that have a low impact. So let's say that's getting sick. Every day there's probably somebody sick from the company. So they are high probability events, but one person, two people being sick, that's not going to cause a real problem for us. Now, over here is where we start getting into problems. See, the consequences get more extreme. So this is a low probability, high impact event. These are contingency events, events that you plan for in the future with little contingencies that you've set aside. What would be an example of a low probability, high impact event to a company? Think weather. Or think California. What would a low probability, high impact event be? That is an event that doesn't happen very often, but causes a lot of trouble. You can put it in the chat, you can sing out. How about Orlando? What do you think? Orlando, you in there? Ah, fire, I see. That's a perfect one. Anybody else? Orlando, Natalia Burnett, do you have an idea? Low probability, high impact. Fire is a good example.
Like an earthquake.
What's that?
An earthquake.
Earthquake, perfect. Earthquake, well, California, they have earthquakes quite a lot. Somebody else John put in severe drought. Another great one. Low probability, high impact, particularly if you're a farmer. So a farmer would have to be planning for the idea that there might be a drought. I can't tell if there's going to be a drought, but there might be. So I need to set aside a little money, a little something, just in case my livelihood is wiped out. Now the yellow one, high probability, high impact. These are the critical events. So these happen fairly often and have a big impact on the company. Let me think of, one example is if the company has poor management, they lose their top personnel, their CEO, their CFO, because they don't like the company. That means that you are turning over your leadership, and that's not good. That will have a high impact on the company. And if this is a continuing problem, a higher probability. But that is the worst thing. Anybody think of something that would be a high probability, high impact event? Let's say baseball. Baseball rain. That when a game gets rained out, that's a big problem. So they have a whole fleet of little guys, and they have covers that they run out. They have all sorts of stuff to take care of the fact that a game might be canceled for rain, because it happens fairly often and it has a high impact on the fans and the game. All right. This is an interesting one because these are ideas submitted by people like you, by another class just like you. The little devil man says, come on, go away, strange slider thing. We ask students which major ethical issues in your field of study especially bother or concern you. Okay, so engineers and engineering students still work on old technologies such as fossil fuels. The shift toward a fully sustainable world isn't going nearly as fast as it should. If you want to work at the highest level of aerospace technology, you'll eventually end up at one of the few mega aerospace corporations that are intermixed with the military. That's saying that if you want to be a star in aerospace, you're going to end up having to work for the industrial military complex. That there aren't that many independent aerospace companies. Use of robotics in warfare and unwarranted surveillance is a big concern for me. Automation also leads to too many people losing their jobs. I'd like to do more in terms of safety or the environment. But in the current economy, there is always a trade-off with budget and profits, and money usually wins. Traditionally, that has been true, that people feel that preserving the environment is a cost, not a benefit. More recently, people have been able to argue and show demonstrably how much a clean environment actually contributes to the economy. It is billions of dollars that clean water, clean air, all these things contribute to it. So the environment is not necessarily a cost, it pays. Water resources and their consumption are not divided equally over the world's population. That bothers me. Water, if you want something to work on for a life career, work on water. In 20 years, water is going to be a big, big issue. Clean water. There are so many people that the demand for clean water is getting higher and higher, and a lot of things are ruining our water table. Okay, that's that. Let's get into our main lecture. So our terms, engineering design, technology design, have no universally accepted definition or unifying professional group that establishes a common explanation covering all who claim to be designers. So I find that kind of cool. that designers are sort of a thing unto themselves. There is no overarching professional designer group. I like that because everything hasn't been figured out. Things are still developing. The person designing is called a designer, which is also a term for people who work professionally in one of the various designing areas. Some career fields require a license or degree in order to practice or to be considered an expert. Specific designing is found in areas such as fashion designer, garden and landscape designer, web designer, interior designer, UI designer, architectural designer, auto body designer, food and beverage, and advertising. I'm sure there's a way to understand why food and beverage and advertising are in here, but I'm not sure. This diversification allows for many differing philosophies and approaches towards the subject. Yet the worldwide United States holds the highest standards in overall practice and consistency of design engineering, or engineering design, apologies. What terms do you think best describes the information and pictures on the previous slides? Well, we know what it's trying to get us to say. I don't think the pictures really show us that well. Technological design and engineering design. A designer's sequence of activities is called a design process. There are basically as many different design process models as there are designers, but there are many different design process models that are used. Some are simple. This is a nice one. Understand, synthesize, create, deliver. 4-step process. Some are very complex. This has got just a bunch of stuff in it. These are a little simpler. The choice of which model used depends on the focus of the actual design and the company's desire to own their own process. So some companies want to do things their way, not the way things have been traditionally done. I really like, in terms of a simplified process, this one. Ask, imagine, plan, create, improve. I think that is just so simple and elegant, and it really does convey those steps of the design process. Identify your problem, ask about it, ask about the background, imagine solutions, think up things, pick the one that's right, make a plan on that one, create your plan or whatever it is, improve that plan, and then you've got to go back to the beginning. So this one is a little more complex. So this is you research, you come up with a concept, you come up with a design, now you have to develop it. Remember research and development? See where development is compared to research? Research is the first thing you're doing. Development is actually creating the path towards manufacturing, towards a commercial application of your product, okay? So when you develop your specifications, the design documentation, you create a prototype, you engineer whatever is needed to create this product, and you produce it. Technological design can be defined as the specification of requirements, functional, etc., needed to satisfy the customer and other relevant external parties, the law, etc. What does that mean? The specification of requirements, functional, etc., needed to satisfy the customer and other relevant external parties, the law, whatever. Okay, someone has hired me to create a new lighting system for their warehouse, okay? So I'm going to create an innovative new lighting system. The specs of my system, the functional aspects of it, need to meet my customer's requirements, right? So the person that I'm building this for, I need to listen to them, I need to understand what they have, where they want to go, what their needs are, and how I'm going to deliver that. Another part of my responsibility is that this has to be legal, that when I create these new lights, I have to do it in a way that is within the specifications of the law. So let's say the wiring of my lighting fixtures, it has to be what we call to code. The code is state by state, and it's the building code. I don't think that there's a federal building code. I think you have state building codes. But that is what tells me how I have to wire an appliance. There is literally a manual that lays out for anything being wired. You need to use green for the ground, red for the hotline, white for your neutral, those kinds of things. So you do, when you're creating, you do need to be aware of what the laws are. The job of a technological designer is to gather such refinements from various sources, asking customers directly, market research, academic research into relevant fields. How do I learn what it is my customer wants me to make for this lighting system? I've got to talk to my customer. I got to talk to the people that actually work on the floor of this warehouse. I need to do market research on commercial lighting systems, academic research. What are the most optimal lighting conditions for a positive working environment? All those things go in that research part, okay? Technological design. The design is concerned mostly with many human factors, like aesthetics. How does it look? Functionality. How does it feel? How do I use it? Ease of use. Fitness for purpose. Is it a good product? And the quality. Will it last? The designer is less concerned with the implementation details. This is what I was talking about. A technological designer is mostly interested in the human factors, like aesthetics, ergonomics, functionality, ease of use, fitness of purpose, and quality. Once they have come up with their design, then they hand that off to who? Who does the technological designer hand their design off to? Come on, be brave. It's Friday. Can't go too far wrong.
The engineer designer?
The engineering designer. That's because, so now the technological designer has created the world's most beautiful, continuously warm coffee mug. But he has no idea how to create that mug. Should it be made out of ceramic? Should it be made out of a different product or whatever? Engineering design can be defined as the translation of the design requirements into a technical specification describing a system which conforms to these requirements, which could then be implemented by persons knowledgeable in the craft. Okay, so what this is saying is what I just said in English. The translation of the design requirements into a technical specification describing a system which conforms to these requirements. Okay? What does that mean? I'll give you a hint. Our technological designer came up with the design requirements. So he wrote up everything he could about his design, what it looks like, what it feels like, all that good stuff. So when he hands that, as we said, to our engineering designer, what does the engineering designer need to do with the technological designer's design requirements? Any ideas? You can put it in the chat. What does the engineering designer do? He turns the probably mostly in English design requirements into what? What is a technical specification describing a system which conforms to the requirements? Technical specifications. Come on. Somebody knows this, I know. Hang on, I'm going to go for a deep dive. I'm going for my giant randomizing chart. And I'm going to go to one of my favorites, Brooklyn Prince. Brooklyn, what do you think technical specifications will be that the engineer makes from the design requirement?
What's a technical specification again?
Well, that's what I'm asking. But so, okay, so the design, like I say, the design requirements are probably written in English. You know, think about engineers. What do they deal with a lot? It's going to be numbers. So the technical specifications are going to be, they are going to create, well, put it this way. Well, no, this is another class, I'm sorry. They are going to create the actual blueprint for the item. So the technological designer has said, this is a 10-inch tall, 3-inch diameter mug. It's going to have a flowing handle. It's going to have this thing in it that keeps the coffee hot. It's up. Those are going to be descriptions, and it is up to the engineering designer to write up, break those descriptions down, and create how to actually build that thing with real materials. How many inches? How thick is it? What are the materials? How are we going to do this? Is it going to be bonded? Is it going to be carved? Is it going to be injection molded? All those kinds of things are things the engineering designer. So they are breaking the words of the design requirement into the calculations and the numbers for the technical specifications. So when I look at like a microwave and I look at the tech specs, it tells me how many watts is the microwave, how wide, how tall, and how deep it is. It tells me how many cubic feet per minute the fan goes in there. Those are all technical specifications that are rendered, okay? So engineering design. In many traditional engineering disciplines, the role of engineer is generally not concerned with things such as aesthetics or fitness for purpose. Instead, the engineer is concerned with coming up with a system or specification which is correct, safe, and cost-effective. They are interested in creating this product as quickly, as inexpensively, and with the highest quality they can. Those are probably the priorities of an engineering designer. That you want it fast, you want it cheap, and you want it to be good. Now, something about those words, I wanted to explain something I love. It's called the good, fast, cheap pyramid. The good, fast, cheap pyramid is good, fast, and cheap are 3 points on a pyramid, right? On a triangle. You can have 2, but you can't have 3. 2, I'll do it in front of me. You can't have good, fast, and cheap. You can't do it. The cost comes out in humanity. You can have good and fast and it won't be cheap. You can have fast and cheap and it won't be good. You can have good and cheap, but it's going to take time to build it. So that system can also be optimized, but it's very good to know because every manager you have in the outside world is going to ask you to deliver good, fast, and cheap because they can sell that all day. I have a great product that's dirt cheap and it's really good. There's not a lot of those out there. So when you're feeling frustrated that you cannot deliver good, fast, and cheap, don't worry, it's impossible. NASA came up with this as a motto that we're going to do better, faster, cheaper launches. They lost 3 of their space vehicles and decided that, gee, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. The role of the chief role of an engineer designer is that the engineer is personally, legally responsible for knowing said correctness and safety of the system. So this is a really interesting concept that my last class had a little problem with. The idea of can one person really be blamed for a whole project? It seems to be saying that. This is the idea that to be certified as an engineer, you need to know, say we're building a bridge. You need to know the load limits of all the materials we're using, that the design we've used can support the load, can support the live load, which is actual cars crossing. There are calculations they make that can do that. If they do those calculations wrong and the bridge collapses, apparently it is the engineer designer or engineering designer that is going to be held personally liable. Well, I need to look into that, okay? So here we go. I've actually seen the nose cup. That's technological design, right? That's cool, that's weird, that's something it's not, it doesn't make the cup a better cup. It looks cool. This one with a face that you're kissing. You can imagine a technological designer coming up with that, and then some poor engineering designer has to figure out how to make it. I'm gonna skip this. Here's engineering design versus technological design. So what they're saying is left brain, your left brain, surprisingly, is your analytical side. People always think, you know, left is crazy, you know, liberal, free thinking, but in your brain, the left side is actually the analytical side. It is the right side that is the free thinking, creative side. So these are the two sides. Technological design is on the right brain, creating things that are beautiful, ergonomic, and useful. On the left side is the engineering design. Calculated, dispassionate, getting it right, making it work. Okay? The designer is the pencil, the client is the eraser. Don't worry about this, that's just a vocabulary test. All right, we're done. All right, so we still have about 24 minutes. Let me get out of here. And what we want to be looking at, so right now, you can be working on your projects. What I am going to go through is some ideas. You know, first off, does anyone have any particular problems? I know somebody asked me if I could go through some examples of stories that people are doing, and I know that really helped my last class. All right, so that's what I'm going to be doing. You can be working on your project. Again, the idea that this product has to be in 2020, don't worry about that. I do want it to be a relatively recent product, just so that hopefully you've seen or heard this marketing campaign. So I had one student come in on Wednesday and work with me, and just to make sure that what he was doing was the right thing. So hang on, I'm just getting to their thing. Not world population. No. There, this is the first part. So the bad product that he wanted to do was LifeLock. Okay. And I was like, gee, you know, LifeLock is merged with Norton and it's still a pretty viable company. I don't know. So he wanted to talk about LifeLock before they had merged with Norton. And apparently they had an incredibly ill-fated ad campaign. This guy is the president of the company. Does everybody know what LifeLock does? Okay,
No.
Someone's saying they couldn't find a least successful product in 2020. I can do that for you. So what does LifeLock do? Somebody said yes. Brooke, you got an idea?
Wait, doesn't it like secure your home, something like that?
It's your digital presence.
That, yeah.
LifeLock, you know, what they do is they guarantee that you will not have your identity stolen, that you will not be hacked, etc. And they have like $1 million that they'll help defray any costs if you are hacked while they're on the job. A lot of people question their claims and benefits, and that's part of this. But what happened was the CEO gave out his social security number and his face saying, I'm so sure that my company is so great, I'm going to do this. Well, apparently it didn't work so well. Todd's account was hacked 13 times, including a loan being taken out illegally in his name. It became public. Hackers took a victory lap. All the newspapers were running the story, and it was quite an embarrassment. So that's something that he could get his teeth into. The dates weren't quite right, but it was a real issue. This was a company that made a choice that really went south on them. What could they have done better? So the other thing that he was looking at was the Share a Coke campaign. Okay? Why was the Share a Coke campaign so successful? Let me see if this has a picture in it. It doesn't. I can't believe that. The Share a Coke campaign was the campaign that had personal names on the bottles. And something we learned looking into this that's just going to help you is that marketing magazines and marketing websites are probably going to have some of the best data for you. Like my thought was, how in the world are you going to get metrics on the Share a Coke campaign out of Coca-Cola? You can see whether Coke's sales went up or down, but how are you going to know how well this campaign worked? Marketing magazines. So my search term, I believe, is Media World Coke's Share a Coke campaign. By putting Media World or media or marketing in with this, it pulled up a bunch of marketing magazines. So this is Investopedia, Digital Video, Marketing Magazine, Incitrio, Medium. These are all places that you can hopefully get some pertinent information. This had great stats on the campaign. Showed how the social media blew up, how sales went up, all that stuff. Okay? And that is a campaign that I know, that I remember, and I'm sure you do too. It's the Coke bottles with, here, let's see if we get an image. There, all these guys. So this was that campaign. And apparently it was very successful. All right? Let's keep going. Oh, what the heck? No. No, those are toys. So something that occurred to me for like a product that did well, fad driven, etc. What about Fortnite? Fortnite is certainly a fad. It's had to have made a pile of cash. You know, what's their story? I think they've been sold to Disney. So that's an interesting one. People want failed products though. So what I was looking for, worst product sales 2020. Biggest product flops of the year, 24/7 Wall Street. These are kind of fun. Okay. And I've got to go back. Some of these are not something you'd particularly know necessarily, but so WeWork. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but probably last year or so, WeWork blew up. WeWork is a company that buys office space and then rents it out to individuals. It's a virtual office provider. People don't want to spend the money to have an office, but they need to have meetings in conference rooms. They can work pretty much from home, but they need a professional location to interact with their other professional colleagues. So, WeWork provided people with these offices. Somehow they expand. So the office space sharing company has been roiled by tumult since it filed to become a public company in August. Since then, the company slashed its valuation from $47 billion to $10 billion. Removed High Living co-founder Adam Newman. Questions of corporate governance. laid off 2,400 employees. So that's just an example. Not the most exciting. I don't think we want an Alzheimer's drug. Google Plus. Google attempted to create its own social network, Google Plus, which was a flop. That even its shutdown was bungled. Knockoff version of Facebook. Oh, nice. Initially, Google Plus was set to shut down in August 2019, but a bug found in its API in November of 2018 exposed the personal information of over 50 million users to certain apps, even if users set their accounts to private. As a result, Google accelerated the sunsetting of the social media platform. Movie Pass. Here's a weird one I never heard of. So this company, Movie Pass, allowed users to pay a monthly fee to see as many movies as they wanted in theaters. According to Movie Pass co-founder Stacy Spikes, its parent company, Helios and Matheson Analytics, became focused on making the service $9.99.95 per month, even though that was supposed to be a one-time discount to attract customers. You know, what is the problem with a subscription service going to movie theaters that you only pay $9.99 a month for, or $95? I think everyone in my class can tell that there's a problem with that model, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the problem with only charging $10 for a month of free movies at theaters?
Because movie tickets for even just one show already cost more than $10. So there's
Just a single ticket costs more than $10 these days. I don't think I can go to a movie for $10. So the price point was simply too low, and they began bleeding cash. Gained a reputation for poor customer service, driving away users, ceased operations in 2019. Oh my gosh. At one point in 2018, Helios and Matheson stock was worth over $2,000 a share. Now it is worth a fraction of a cent. Wow. There's a company to look at for a failure story. Goldfinch was a movie. They're saying apparently, where'd it go? The reintroduction of Nintendo Classic was a total failure. These are bizarre Nike app sneakers, Adapt BB shoes, pair of $350 Nike sneakers with an app that self-ties the laces. Tied footwear customer in knots in February. That's because the app was defective for a large number of users and failed to pair up with the sneakers. Lacking manual laces, the shoes were effectively unwearable. So that's that. This is another show. This is just the Infinity Q30. Apparently nobody wants one. They're selling less than 3,200 units a year now. Apple News Plus. Is this blowing anybody who didn't have an idea? Yes. You guys can ask me. Somebody in the chat is asking the time period. So yes, ideally, let's say the last 5 years. If it's within the last 10, I'm not going to die. I just want you to be able to find a good story to work with. Ideally, I'd like it to mean something to you, that you're not just reading about it, but you saw it. This is the Energizer P18K. It's a cell phone with a giant battery. And as you can see, it's like probably weighs a ton and is huge. Nobody liked it. Bose Sleep Buds. There we go. Many of the products that flopped in 2019 misfired because they failed to anticipate the market or did not catch on with the consumer. This is not the case with Bose Sleep Buds. The Sleep Buds were discontinued because in many cases, they simply didn't work. The $250 headphones were designed to be worn to bed and play soothing sounds to help you fall asleep. Product would switch off in the middle of the night or fail to fully charge. Battery issues were so pervasive, Bose opted to discontinue the product altogether. Ugly dolls. I can imagine that didn't go so well. Maybe they need a new name. Okay, we've still got about 10 minutes. Anything in particular we want to be looking at? Oh, the Galaxy Fold apparently didn't do very well. Samsung debuted a phone unlike anything else, the Galaxy Fold, a phone with a double wide screen that folds in the middle like a book. While it's a novel idea, the execution was off. Journalists reported the screen malfunctioned and pointed out that the device was very fragile and susceptible for damage. These issues, coupled with a $2,000 plus price tag, have hurt sales and may be stemming Samsung sales expectations. So something like this is where you look at a marketing magazine to find out what the sales were for the Galaxy Fold. Because looking at Samsung sales is probably going to be really difficult to pick that out. Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
okay if we do something in 2019, right?
Absolutely, not a problem. Well, because again, I don't know what, the person who designed this, you're not going to be able to get any numbers for marketing for 2020. 2020 is still going on. You'll only have the numbers for last year or earlier. So we're learning as we go. Let's see, what other fun things did we find? These are popular marketing best product sales in 2020. These are actually sales softwares. That's not what we want. Trending products. Oh, here was an interesting one. I don't know, it just occurred to me. Spanx. I don't know if anyone's ever seen a Spanx ad. Spanx are women's undergarments that are controlling, that they help make you look slimmer. They're not quite a girdle, they're much more comfortable, but if you've got some bulges that you'd rather not have, they can smooth them out for you with their apparel. Spanx has done incredibly well. Just looking at this, I don't know quite what Owler is, but it's interesting. This gives a breakdown of the company and its top competitors. So Spanx, everyone likes their executive, 88 out of 100. There's 750 employees, and they make $400 million in revenue. The company in here, that's another, I'm sure you could find a success story here, Under Armour. Under Armour is valuated at $5.3 billion and has 15,000 employees. But of all these companies, there's only one other that approaches Spanx, and that is, this one, Walford, that's 168 million. Here's Spanx by the numbers. 160 employees, only 30 are men. Spanx is privately held, reported an estimated 350 million in retail sales in 2008. That's pretty old. You will learn getting numbers out of a privately held company can be difficult too. They are not required to be publishing their numbers. Founder founded Spanx with $5,000 of her own savings in 2000. Fully self-funded entrepreneur. More than 40% of Spanx employees are working moms. Do you want me to just be quiet, or should we keep looking for failed products, or what should I be finding? We got about 8 minutes.
Keep looking for failed products.
Failed products, all right. Let's see. I'm going to go for biggest failed products. In recent times. Product launch blunders. 50 worst flops of all time. That sounds like just what we need. When product launches go awry, the 50 worst flops of all time. I don't know why we're starting at 6. It's not a well-designed website, is it? Google Glass. There's one. Google first announced Google Glass, an eyeglass-shaped head mount to display smartphone capabilities in 2012. Still hasn't caught on. After 2 years of disappointing sales, it was clear customers did not need Google Glass. So what was the problem here from a company perspective? Think about what Apple saw in terms of iTunes. Google created Google Glass without seeing that there was a real need out there, that people needed to be able to see their phones through glasses. That's a feeling I have. The Newton, personal digital assistant, 1993, that seems a little old. Atari, E.T. the extraterrestrial. Oh, Satisfries, Burger King introduced a new menu item, advertised a healthy alternative. Satisfries used a less porous batter that caused the fry to absorb less oil than regular fries during cooking. Why they were made with a healthier recipe, the Burger King failed to convey the difference to customers. The fries were also more expensive than Burger King's regular fries, failed to gain traction, customer discontinued 2014. Premier smokeless cigarette, no. These all seem a little old. Terra Nova, touch of yogurt shampoo, new Coke. No, these are not helping us because they're just not recent enough. Let's see if we can get a... Let's see what this says. 12 worst product flops. That's 98. Google Glass is 2011, so it could fit. Arch Deluxe, no, no. No. New Coke, no. Wow chips. Coors Rocky Mountain Sparkling Spring Water. These are not helping us. There's the Edsel. Let me tell you the story of the Edsel. Released on E-Day, with E standing for experimental. The Edsel Ford attempted to offer a higher-end mid-sized vehicle to consumers looking to upgrade. Car was named after Edsel B. Ford, the company's former president and Henry Ford's only son, who died in '43. The Edsel cost Ford at least $350 million, which is $2.9 billion in today's dollars. Ford promoted the car aggressively with expensive teaser ads, raised consumer expectations too much. The Teletouch push-button transmission, in particular, was said for it would be revolutionary. Unfortunately, the new features were unreliable. This isn't working for us. Let's do 2018. No, no. Oh, from past 5 years. There we go. Showbiz cheat sheet. Oh, remember the Galaxy 7? That's the one that caught on fire. It was supposed to be competing with the iPhone. That's one. Ooh, watermelon Oreos. Imagine that. Didn't work. Combining the cookie with a summer fruit equals a disaster. Oh, flavors you'd never expect. Swedish fish and birthday cake. Google Glass seems to be a popular failed product. And they say it's in the last 5 years. The HP touchpad, designed to rival the iPad. Touchpad barely got off the ground. Nissan Murano Cross Cabriolet. Ended production in 2014. The Amazon Fire Phone. From drone deliveries to 3D printing, Amazon has wiggle room to experiment. Biggest failure so far may be the Fire Phone, which released alongside the Fire Tablet, bombed magnificently. Amazon took a $170 million loss, company's worst in years. Nike Fuel Band, fitness devices. And again, oh, Trump University. Someone can do a nice thing on that. False advertising. Trump University was founded in 2005 as a for-profit education company to teach people to make money in real estate industry. However, dissatisfied students, the now defunct business, alleging it used deceptive sales and marketing practices to defraud students. There you're satisfied. Ooh, McDonald's wings. Yeah, those are still old. The Apple Watch, I think the Apple Watch is actually doing okay. Calling it a failure is a bit unfair. Many people like the smartwatches. Company has unveiled the next generation. Apple Watch did not sell well, however, and consumers still aren't completely on board with a smartwatch that requires a smartphone. Vine, popular social media network. Vines were like short videos, sort of Twitter for video. Vine couldn't make it with the likes of Instagram and Snapchat. United Airlines, poorly handled PR nightmare. Deserves a spot on this list for violently hauling a 69-year-old man off one of its flights to make room for company employees. The incident was caught on camera. They literally like dragged him down the aisle of the aircraft. Not really good. 3D TV. I'm not a fan of 3D TV. Ronan. Okay, we are done. Time is up. You are supposed to be going. I hope that helped.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, it did.
Have a good weekend. Have a good weekend.
Bye, thank you.
We'll still have
Have a
time
good
to work
weekend.
on these on Tuesday. Because we're
Okay.
going to turn them in on Wednesday.
Wait, we turn in on Tuesday?
Yes,
Oh,
23rd is Wednesday. So we will be able to work on these in class on Tuesday.
Okay, have a good weekend.
No worries. Thank you.
Bye.
Mr. Swift,
Yep.
for the beverage label project that you said I could like add more things onto, so I checked and apparently the website that I created it on, like I don't think I logged in, so it didn't save my design.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Don't
But-
worry, Dixon. I'll take care of you. No, that's just a problem with what we're trying to do.
yeah, I can probably just remake it and add everything, so I can turn that in by tomorrow.
Well, but I mean, can't you just import your final in there and then add the bits on top? I guess you probably can't move the elements though.
Yeah, I can't move anything.
Yeah, that's a problem. I don't want you to go to too much effort. I mean, it's only 3 points, I think. There's going to be plenty of other fun places to gain points. Dina, can I help you? Dina? Dina, you there? Dina.
Bye, Mr. Swift.
Goodbye. So good to see you. I like your art. Dina, you in there?